Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Lockie, and today I am back with my Spa review, or Belgium review. And yeah, I mean, it was start off by saying a fantastic weekend. I did miss the practice sessions, did get to see qualifying and the race though, so I am pretty much up to date. I also do want to say this gameplay, if you saw my prediction, may look familiar. I've been having some technical issues because I'm trying to swap my recording software. So yeah, I've been having problems with the new one, and then the old one, it doesn't quite want to work the same. I should have it all sorted out though, and have more videos for you guys this week. But yeah, either way, we'll get into it. But before we even start, before I did my prediction, actually no, just after I did my prediction, Hamilton and Alonso both said that they're taking penalties, which I totally forgot about that they were expected to do at this race. So both of them did that. So yes, so I know I missed that, but there you go. Ultimately, they would both come into a factor, and I'll get into that more later on. Mercedes looked really quick, and Alonso had a water leak problem with the new engine. I believe everything was okay with the new engine, but they put an older one in for safety. I don't know if they put the new one back in for the race. But yeah, I mean, that was that. And then in free practice 2, Red Bull looked really quick and looked very promising. Which I did kind of say I thought they'd be quick. Ultimately, I said it would be Mercedes would win the race. A Mercedes car would win the race. I had a feeling that one of the Mercedes would not get second. As I said in the prediction, I did say it probably won 2, which it almost was. But I also did say that, I had a feeling that, there might be a problem with one and then ultimately the penalty. And then in FP3, Kimi looks quick. And Vettel didn't look that quick. Verstappen had a gearbox problem, turned out to be an electrical problem with the gearbox. Didn't get a penalty in the ultimate race. He was actually started in 3rd, which is where he qualified. So yeah, and then we get what else? Oh, Whirling got a penalty for blocking Gutierrez. I can't remember the other two. But there were 2 others that looked like they may get a penalty, but ultimately did not get it. And so I'm just trying to load up the thing. I forgot to do that. Also, Ericsson had to take a 10-place penalty. I forgot to mention that, I think, going into the weekend. I can't remember why, or actually I don't know why. I never found out why, but I knew he had to take a 10-place penalty. So yeah, going into quali, Mercedes were very vocal on how worried they were about their pace and about how ultimately Red Bull and Ferrari looked strong because, and I'll get into this. This is something I'll talk about at the end because this is the thing I'll usually continue. But they were worried because they couldn't keep the super soft tires for one lap. Barely anyone could, but that was a big thing. Like, you couldn't do one lap on the super softs, which ultimately made qualifying a Q2 very important. Those who can get into Q3 on the soft tires, which yet again I'll get into in just a second. But either way, we go into Q1. Alonso's car stopped with another problem, but ultimately everything was okay, from what I heard. And the knockouts was Alonso, Hamilton, Ericsson. This is in from 22nd to 17th. It's Alonso, Hamilton, Ericsson, Kvyat, Ocon, Nasser. So I know that's reversed, and I apologize, but I'm literally reading off notes. And then in Q2, everything seemed to be okay. I actually did kind of fall asleep at the end of Q2, so I did miss it. But Whirling, so yet again, reverse order. So 16th to 11th. Whirling, Sainz, Palmer, Gutierrez, Magnussen, and Grosjean. Grosjean, yet again, the Haas 11th place in qualifying. They love that 11th place. They cannot make it into Q3, but they love their 11th place. And going into Q3, you may not have heard his name yet, that you probably would have thought you'd heard, which was Button, but it was yet again 10th down to 1st. So Massa, Button, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Perez, Ricciardo, Vettel, Raikkonen, Verstappen, and Rosberg. But yeah, as I said, Button P9 in a McLaren. Phenomenal. I mean, that is a phenomenal achievement for McLaren to get P9, and they ultimately had a really good weekend, which I'll get into. But yeah, P9, absolutely phenomenal, and it's a great result for the team and Button. I mean, it shows that on the track, this track and the next track next week, which is Monza, it shows that they actually have a quick car now. They're developing a good car. Now, unlike Monza, there's a sector, which is Sector 2, that is very chassis heavy, and if you have a good chassis, like Red Bull, it keeps your car competitive, which ultimately did for Red Bull. The only reason they stayed in this race was, because they had a good Sector 2, and ultimately why Ricciardo finished where he did, and things like that. I should also point out that the top 3 drivers that were in that race, the top 3 drivers out of quali was, yet again, Rosberg first, Verstappen second, and Raikkonen in third. 3 different constructors at the top 3. That is phenomenal. That is a very, very phenomenal job. It shows that Formula 1 is getting very even and close, and we do have big regulation changes next season, but it's not on the engine or anything. It's on the tyre and a little bit to do with the aerodynamics. So that was that. So I'll get into the tyre selection. So the tyres for this weekend, and it ultimately affected the race, were perfect because it was very hot on Saturday, or if you're not in Australia and most other countries, Friday. It was very hot at Spa, and so that's why the tyres wouldn't last a lap. But I think that, sorry, I had to burp. I think that actually gave the race a good characteristic. Having this unpredictability was a lot of fun to watch. It was like no one really knew what the best tyre was. Like they knew that each tyre would work if they put it on, just some would work better and some would work less, and that is phenomenal. And I think that, and I've been saying it all year, that this third tyre compound isn't designed for let's have a harder tyre so you could possibly one stop. It's designed to have softer tyres so that the top 10 or some of the top 10 would start on the softest tyre, and then from 11th outwards can choose whatever tyre they want to start on and can start on that tyre and can get an advantage. That is the point of this, because ultimately the people who had the super soft tyre really had an affected race to it. And then with what happened in the race did not help, which I'll get to in just a second. Sorry, I'm just trying to read. I'm trying to read my notes, but my handwriting's not the best. Hamilton also, going into the race, did take a new gearbox, which could help him in Monza. So I should point that one out, because that might be a big talking point. Ericsson started from pit lane, don't exactly know why, but did. Also, before, I think at the start of the weekend, and I wrote this pretty late, but if Stoffel Van Dorn doesn't get a McLaren seat next year, which, come on, let's be honest, he really deserves that seat, for first Grand Prix ever in a team that was in a car that's a non-point scoring car and scored points. The guy deserves it, and so much so that Toto Wolff said if he doesn't get a seat at McLaren, that they are stupid and he will put them in the seat, which he's already done for Ocon and Whirlin. He's found them seats. And yeah, so getting into the race. So, it was one thing I should mention, because this is a huge talking point, and I know some people are going to heavily disagree with me, and some people might agree with me. And I hope you guys see the point that it's coming across, because if you watch the replays, it came out pretty evidently. Going into turn 1 in Spa, if you're a rookie, you can get away with this. But being an experienced driver who has done multiple seasons at this track and seen, especially if you were there in 2012 with the Grosjean crash, if you're the outside driver, you should probably leave an extra car width, so you can have two. So you have 3 cars go around, 2 more beside you, and if you don't, okay, fair enough, it's a racing incident. But going into turn 1, Verstappen got a horrible start. Oh, actually, I should point out, at the top 6, so Rosberg, Raikkonen, Vettel, and Ricciardo, the top 5, those 4 all started on soft tyres. Verstappen started on the super softs, which would only last about 3 laps. 4, 5 at tops. I don't actually know when he pitted, but yeah, either way, that was what the predictability of that was. So those guys started on a harder tyre, but got a better start than Verstappen. Going into turn 1, both Ferraris jumped Verstappen going into the corner, but Verstappen came back having the better tyre and braked later and got next to Kimi Räikkönen. So on the inside of the corner was Verstappen, then Kimi, and then Vettel. And Vettel got spun into turn 1 and ultimately gave Raikkonen puncture, and damage, severe damage, and same with Vettel and Verstappen. So the 3 of them all had an incident. And basically, why I said all that stuff before about leaving room is, if you look at the replays, an experienced driver who's been in the grid as long as Vettel, I think 6, maybe 7 years now, he should have known to leave an extra car length, because he squished Kimi. Kimi wasn't ever going to hit Vettel. He hit his teammate first, which then knocked him into Verstappen. So he was never going to hit Verstappen. So he actually got hit by no. Alright, sorry, I don't know what if it got cut out or not, if my audio did, but I'll say what I was saying before. And I apologise if there's a jump there. Everything paused for a second. But either way, yeah, Kimi wasn't going to hit Verstappen, so he hit his teammate, which knocked him into Verstappen, and they all got damaged. I know he said the damage. So, yeah, that was that into turn 1, and I believe that it was Vettel's fault. It was a race incident. I'm not going to deny that. But there is blame to be put on Vettel there. He shouldn't have gotten a penalty, which he didn't, but it was his fault. He knew that he should have left room. Same's tyre popped on lap 2, and on lap 3 they called a VSC, which is a virtual safety car. Ericsson also out of the race because of a tech problem, and Whirlin hit the back of Button in lap 1 and took them both out. So Button, who qualified P9, taken out of the race unfortunately, and I really would have liked to see how he would have gone on the race. But yes, he was taken out of the race because of that incident. And then we had the huge crash at Eau Rouge, I think it is. For some reason, I keep saying Eau Rouge, but it's Eau Rouge. Big crash at the top of it, and his head. First of all, that was at lap 6 or 7. Safety car came out, and then ultimately got red flagged. But his headrest came off, which is going to be something that's going to be looked at. I don't think it was Renault's fault, but if you don't understand the big deal of it, the first impact's not the worst impact. The headrest obviously helps, but that's not the worst. It's the main aim of the headrest is to stop the second incident. If another car hit him, his head won't get bounced along again, and it's supposed to save him. And that actually came off. And if you haven't seen it, go on the F1 app or on the F1 website. Huge crash, and great to see him walk away. He did have to go to hospital because he had a cut on his leg, but he should be at Monza. There's like a 90% chance he'll be at Monza, which is absolutely fantastic. Which also threw up a bunch of questions: whether is Ocon going to move up from Marussia, or could we see? I can't remember her name. I think it's Jorda Carmen or something like that, which is the female reserve driver at Renault, go in and drive. But no. Magnussen's believed to be driving, and thank God he walked away. But under the safety car of that accident, Alonso had no data on his steering wheel, which is playing a very dangerous game because obviously he doesn't know his speed, so he could overspeed. Nothing ended up happening of that, thankfully, and yeah, that was that. He was in 4th place, by the way. So he actually was in 4th at the safety car, and Hamilton was in 3rd. Because I believe a bunch of people had, when the safety car initially got called, all the people on super softs pitted. And somehow they got up that far. Like, basically, I'll read out the order. So Massa, Button, Bottas, Hulkenberg, and Perez were all on super softs. They all pitted, and they were the only ones to pit, I believe, except for the ones who had damage. And yeah, either way, great job from Alonso and Hamilton to get up that far. And they were running on mediums. Everyone else who I didn't read just before were running softs. So yeah, whole safety car was perfect for Hamilton because it got to save his tyres and brought him right up in contention. Hulkenberg was in a good position. I can't remember exactly what. Oh, I think he was 3rd. So Hulkenberg was 3rd. So it was Rosberg, Ricciardo, Hulkenberg, Alonso, and Hamilton. Then when the red flag came out, it was perfect for some drivers like Ricciardo, basically everyone else who didn't pit, which were the guys who were on the soft tyres, and the mediums, because that allowed, when it's a red flag, you can change certain things in the car. So you can change your tyres, your front wing, all the stuff you can do in pits, you can do. And Hulkenberg actually had a clever thing like, hey, can we empty fuel because, we'll be good. And they're like, no, but we can burn it. So they burnt some of the fuel, which ultimately was a good factor, smart thinking. That was that. It basically... that was that. The guardrails need to repair. That's why they caused the thing, and the track had to come out on track. So that's instant red flag. At least it should be if it isn't. And I do want to mention that there's a big talking point of the Halo, and the fact that this was a huge crash and Magnussen got out and walked away, that proves that this is safe. And I hate to bring this up, but the Halo... they're worried because, they think it would have saved Jules Bianchi's life. When you go onto a 2-ton truck in a 650-kilo car, nothing's going to save you. Even if you had a canopy, nothing's going to save you. And I believe that, actions were meant to be taken in place. There should have been a red flag and safety car sooner. Unfortunately, there wasn't, and that was that. But I don't think the Halo system should be introduced. Formula 1 is safe enough. You're taking out that risk factor, and everyone's saying it. Except for the drivers. Except for the established drivers, everyone else is saying that. Hamilton isn't as well. But, Hulkenberg, Perez, these drivers who want to make their way through are like, let us race, we like this. And if you're going to introduce it, it should be a optional thing, but they're going to enforce it. Yep. Sorry, I'm just trying to find more notes that I haven't said before. So Raikkonen and Verstappen touch again. Raikkonen was pushed off the track, and then had to give the place back. Then a lap later, Verstappen did a very late move down the straight, which almost caused another huge accident, but luckily Raikkonen pulled out of that quickly. Don't think that should... Rulebook-wise, it was nothing wrong, but Verstappen needs to talk to with his defensive driving. He's good, but he's going to cause an accident soon. Raikkonen and Grosjean had a small touch as well, but everything looked okay. 5-second penalty for Nazar for leaving the track and getting an advantage. Alonso and Hulkenberg get side by side in the pits. They touch a little, but ultimately was fine. Great racing in the pits. Wasn't dangerous. And I think that's what that brings pits even more alive. Verstappen and Perez touch. Yet again, Verstappen ran him off the road, and like he did to Raikkonen. But Perez didn't give the place back this time, and actually was fine. Didn't get a penalty or anything. Sorry, I'm waiting for these notes because the video is about to end. So I'll do my rant next video. Perez makes an awesome move on Massa at lap 29. Absolutely incredible move. Like, phenomenally good move. Great show for Alonso. He ran 5th for most of the race. Hulkenberg finishes in 4th for the 3rd time in his career. That's his best result. Red Bull showed great pace at this track, and which is promising for Monza, considering that yet again they do not have a fast straight line car. Ferrari does beat them in that, but will be interesting to see how they go at Monza. My driver of the day would have to be Alonso. He battled for 5th for most of the race, and battled with Williams at the end of the race, which were a lot faster than him down the straight, and beat them to get 7th, and he did that for about 8 laps. Get another race where the first half is better. Already said about a lot softer tyres. By the way, if you want to see my notes, how much notes I take down, I will be posting this to my Instagram, link in the description. Hamilton ended up getting 3rd. Should be good on engines for the ring. So Hamilton had it, and the reason why I didn't pick Hamilton is because things fell into place with him. Whereas Alonso had to fight for his place and ultimately got it, which was phenomenal. And at the end, while we have this up, great on Webber, who came up. If you did miss the podium thing, it's becoming an Aussie tradition that when an Aussie gets a podium throughout motorsport, because it's happened, I believe, with Will Power and the Aussie in MotoGP, you pour the champagne in your boot, drink it, it's called a shoey. Webber did Ricciardo shoey for that, and that was quite funny, and good on them for doing that. So I will end the video here. As I said, I'll get in my rant in my prediction. That'll come out on Friday or Thursday if you're not in Australia or New Zealand. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment if I missed anything, and anything you want me to talk about in the prediction. And I will see you guys next time.